Surrexit Dominus, and welcome to Gloria TV News. Preparing the way of sin. In an analysis of Pope Francis' Amoris Laetitia, Voice of the Family concludes that Francis prepares the way for persons living in adulterous relationships to receive Holy Communion without true repentance and amendment of life. Confused. According to Voice of the Family, Amoris Laetitia presents a confused exposition of Catholic teaching on mortal sin and on conscience. It replaces Catholic terminology with an ideological language and quotes previous church documents in a selective and misleading way. Troubling. A misquotation regards Familiaris Consortio, where Pope John Paul II says that divorced and remarried people may, for serious reasons, stay together for the good of the children. But Francis suppresses Pope John Paul II's statement that such couples are bound to live in sexual abstinence. Forgotten parents. Francis speaks at length of a need for sex education, but he makes no reference to the parents. According to Familiaris Consortio, sex education is a basic right and duty of parents, which must always be carried out under their attentive guidance. Family. In paragraph 53, Francis claims that, quote, "We need to acknowledge the great variety of family situations that can offer a certain stability. But de facto or same-sex unions, for example, may not simply be equated with marriage." Voice of the Family comments, "The implication that same-sex unions form part of the great variety of family situations is what pro-family groups are fighting hard to oppose." Gender ideology. Francis endorses gender ideology by claiming that biological sex and socio-cultural gender can be distinguished. Voice of the Family says that this false distinction was first proposed in the 1950s and is the foundation of gender ideology. Ignoring abortion. Although Francis addresses challenges to the family, he makes only a small number of passing references to abortion. This absence of serious discussion of attacks on unborn life is a grave omission. A threat. Voice of the Family concludes, "It is abundantly clear that the document fails to give a clear and faithful exposition of Catholic doctrine. It considers the document, quote, as a threat to the integrity of the Catholic faith and the authentic good of the family." Old friends. On Monday, Pope Francis received the Argentinian ambassador to the Holy See, Rogelio Pfirter. Pfirter happens to be a former student of the Pope, who, as a Jesuit scholastic, was a teacher of literature and psychology in 1964 at the Jesuit Colegio de la Inmaculada Concepción in Santa Fe. At the end of the audience, Pfirter's 94-year-old father, who had especially come from Argentina, met Francis. The Antichrist. Republican New Hampshire State Representative Susan DeLimas has come to the conclusion that Pope Francis is the Antichrist because he said that Donald Trump was no Christian. Later she elaborated, "If you read the Protestant Geneva Bible, which is the Bible I use when we study, it references the papacy as the Antichrist." DeLimas is an impassioned supporter of Donald Trump. No homosex dictatorship. Former Dakar Archbishop and President of the Regional Episcopal Conference of West Africa, Cardinal Theodore Sarr, sent the strongest signal to the West that Africa will not accept any form of dictatorship on the issue of homosexualism. Quote, "The Western world, especially the Americans, behave like people who have to think for the rest of the world. They have to decide for the rest of the world. But we say that, no, you can't decide for the rest of the world." A new bishop. Bishop Richard Williamson, who was expelled from the priestly fraternity of St. Pius X, has announced that he will consecrate a second bishop. It will be Father Thomas Aquinas, the prior of the Benedictine monastery of the Holy Cross near Nova Friburgo in Brazil. Confusion. Cardinal Burke has criticized that the secular media, and even some Catholic media, call Pope Francis' Amoris Laetitia a revolution. On the other hand, pro-homosex Bishop Jean-Paul Vesco of Oran, Algeria, claims that the document asks for a, quote, revolution of the point of view. Quote, nothing changes in the doctrine of the Church, and nevertheless everything changes in the relation of the Church to the world. Damage done. Kaya Oakes writes on foreign policy about Amoris Laetitia, quote, Pope Francis is embracing a risky strategy for reform, and the risk of this strategy is that individuals have different approaches to his notions of reform. Francis could potentially wind up undermining his authority or subjecting his broader agenda of shifting the Church to regional whims. Gloria TV believes that this has already happened. Ultra-liberal. Pope Francis has named French Archbishop Christophe Pierre as the new apostolic nuncio in the United States. Pierre is ultra-liberal. This will have a devastating effect on the whole country, as the nuncio is crucial in naming new bishops. Pastoral. The blog Dimthna Road has published a future conversation between a child and his mother about the meaning of the word pastoral. The child asks, Mama, what does pastoral mean? The mother answers, it means, child, that when your father and his new wife go to church, the priest has to pretend that I'm dead. This was Gloria TV News. Thanks for being with us today, and God bless you.